So Joyce Byers from Stranger Things. Did you think that?
Yeah, I
No.
did.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that Winona Ryder is kind of known for that now, because when I was growing
know.
up, she was like, a heartthrob of like all the cool movies. And then she kind of stopped being in the limelight, right? Like she kind of stopped making bigger things, and she'd pop up in like the Black Swan or something, and you'd see her there, or, but you didn't really see her as much anymore.
Sure.
And then Stranger Things kind of revitalized her career a little bit, and so she made this mystery thriller. At one point, it had horror tag on it, but doesn't seem to anymore, and I'm good with that because it's definitely more of a mystery thriller for sure. But this one, I don't know if I'm going to read a synopsis or if I'm going to go with just what I want to off the top of my head. But essentially, this couple, Winona Ryder and her younger boyfriend, are going up to a Airbnb in the middle of nowhere, and they're going to have a little adventure because they're wanting to spice up the relationship, and you'll figure out why within the film later on. When they get there, another couple who's very bizarre
To say the least.
is there and says that they have rented that place, and the guy comes out and he's like, you guys need to fuck off. And then the girl comes out and is like, no, you can stay.
You
and
can
they
fuck in.
and they stay, fuck in. They stay, and when Winona wakes up in the morning, someone is gone in the night.
Dun, dun, dun.
If you can figure out who that is. So, okay. This film is really good at building mystery for the first 45 minutes to an hour. I'll say we'll split the difference. We'll go 55 minutes. Yeah. You've got a really good mystery building, and they play a lot with the linear storytelling, right? Like they go back and forth to tell the story, giving you little bits of information from the past and whatnot. So we jump around a lot in this film in time and reveal little bits more to give you clues on what is actually happening here. So it's building up, of course, to some twist and all of that. Now, I can't speak for everybody, but for the most part, I feel like I can typically pinpoint the movies that are going to have that pretty easily guessable twist. And once you get to the point in the film around that time period and you figure it out like we did, it was kind of just like it hit us, and then it was just like, yes, 100% this is it. It's all it could be, and it's exactly what it was and all that. So it kind of takes the fun out of it because from there on, you're just waiting for the reveal. And the last act, because you're really just trying to get there, you want it to really succeed and hit hard, even though you figured out what's going to happen. You're still like, well, maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they'll throw something else in. And it's slightly successful. It's a weird one for me in the end, right? Like, I feel like there's certain things that happened that were kind of interesting. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of into that. Okay, that's kind of cool. And then they kind of take it away. And I'd be like, oh, shit, okay. I wish they were going that route, but they didn't. And then they kind of throw another one at me, and I'd be like, oh, huh. And then, in the last minute, I was like, oh. Right before the credits rolled, I was like, okay, I like that. But there's a lot of, conveniences and, eye roll type moments that happen in that final act where you're like, oh, would that really happen?
Yeah.
And would people really do that? And this seems very convenient for the plot. And these characters are acting pretty dumb. And these characters are acting believable in the moment. And so the last act kind of falls apart. And it really is just I was super into it, even though it is kind of a more awkward movie throughout, mostly because Winona Ryder is just fucking awkward.
She's weird now.
She is weird.
I don't know what it is. I agree with you. I think that there was a lot of like, well, first, like once you figure out what the twist or what the thing is, like it's very obvious and you can see it from a mile away.
Yeah.
I do think that that's something that, of course, with anything, if you watch a lot of film, it'll be easier for you to notice it. And I'm sure there's people who will watch it and be like, I never thought of that. Oh my God. But very predictable. And all of those little like moments, like you said, we were kind of speculating, is it this gonna happen? Is that gonna happen?
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I like the things that we went with, like the ideas that we come up with, which happens when we watch movies.
Sure.
And there's a bit of personal bias there. But the biggest problem I have with the film is a specific character, and I don't understand their motivations.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really bothered me throughout the whole movie because I was like, it's such an intense and important character that I felt like not having a solid understanding of why they were doing what they were doing just really kind of brought things down for me. Because everybody else, it's pretty clear like what's going on. There's maybe a little bit of some like gray area with a couple of the motivations of characters, but for the most part it's like straightforward. But for the one character, yeah, it was tough for me. And it sucks because it's this actress that we've seen in so many things that we ultimately end up not liking. But I like her a lot. Like, even in this, I think that she did a great job.
I feel like she plays pretty similar character.
She does.
Her name is Brianne TJU. How would you pronounce that? TJU. Sure. You just drop the T, right? The T's silent?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Brianne Jew, I'll say is her name. But she just keeps popping up in fucking everything we watch. It's become a joke to us. We're like, oh, there she is. Because she was in Unhuman and I Know What You Did Last Summer and this. And she was in 47 Meters Down, the sequel, and she was in a couple episodes of the Scream TV series that we watched. Like, we just kind of like, just keep seeing this chick in like everything we've watched. In the last like few months, I feel like every like fifth thing we watch, she just pops up and we're like, fuck this girl again.
Well, and I like her though. Every time I see her performance, like I'm happy with her performance, but I don't know, but the character that she plays, unfortunately,
fire your agent.
Yeah, that's the character's the one that I have issues with, and it is kind of odd what we were saying before, that Winona Ryder seems so awkward and weird, and like I was watching her performance thinking like it is Joyce Byers. Like she has these, like, they're not even micro expressions, but they're like these weird little expressions that she does that they're not like over dramatic, but they're sort of, I don't know if fake is the right word. It's just weird. It's almost like she's reacting to something that's not happening.
She's just like that.
But I don't remember a lot of
now.
Yeah, that's what I just now, because in like in the movies in the past,
5-10 years, she's just become very out there.
Yeah.
And you can see it in an interview. I mean, watch her on the stage when the whole Stranger Things crew went up there and she was like sitting next to him. She's like,
she was tripping.
I was like, what the fuck is she looking at?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with her. But...
Speaking of someone we keep seeing in everything we watch, Dermot Mulroney is also in every fucking other movie we watch too. I feel like this guy's popping up in everything. Yeah. He was just in Uma. And he's like, I swear we've watched like 5 movies in just a short amount of time that this guy has popped up in recently.
He's great though. I liked him in this film too. I like the way he looks, and his acting and everything is good. You know, so
yeah, it's a decent thriller.
Yeah,
it's a decent thriller that falls apart in the end. And with a movie like this that's really building on mystery. Mm-hmm. Blowing your last act is kind of the biggest sin you can commit. So it's a tough recommendation because like I was quite invested and interested, despite how awkward things felt. It kind of reminded me of like Sinister 2 in a way because of how awkward Cheyenne Sosman is with James Ransbone or whatever their character's so awkward in the movie, and they're like supposed to be kind of like interested in each other, and it's like watching like that like autistic dating
Love on the Spectrum.
Love on the
I
Spectrum.
love that
That's
show.
what it felt like, but in a movie. Not a knock on anybody who's like on the spectrum. I'm just saying it's just awkward. You're like,
Sure.
but they're not meant to be,
Right.
right? They're not on the spectrum in the movie, but they fucking feel like they are when I watch it. Anyways, that's how Winona Ryder feels in this movie, and they kind of blow the ending. And if you don't want to know what the twist is, sure as fuck don't look up the original title of this film.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna definitely figure it out even faster.
Yes.
And my God, though, that lasts like 10 minutes or something. There is a couple cool things, and as I said, the last minute I am on board with, and another minute within that also I was on board with, but they didn't go with it, and I was kind of bummed. But like everything else, I was really like it almost felt like embarrassing in moments where I was like, oh man, I wouldn't want to deliver this dialogue. I wouldn't want to be in this scene. This is silly. We've also got Patrick Hockstetter in here as well. So a little shout out to him as well. He's a good actor. I liked him in this, but man, there's some rough dialogue that some of them have to deliver. And I'm not sure how you go from looking like a complete fucking tweaker to looking totally normal overnight. That's all I'm going to say, nothing else.
Yeah.
And if you show up at somebody's fucking like place in the middle of the night that isn't supposed to be there, and they're wearing like fucking like full on like slickers,
Don't
leave.
Yeah.
See, this film has such believability issues. That's the problem too, right? Like there's no way.
Well, and
you're
even
staying.
when you kind of are like, oh, like you later in the film, there's an explanation for certain behaviors, but they're not a full explanation.
No, not at all.
Because there's still other characters that would react differently in the situation in a believable way.
Let's say no more.
We'll say no more. Check it out, maybe. Like if you
Yeah,
want to
it's
see Winona Ryder.
It's a maybe.
And watch like an okay thriller mystery.
If nothing else is on,
Winona Ryder and just Winona Ryder's good to look at.
It kind of
She's
reminds
such a pretty
me.
lady.
It kind of reminds me of like a '90s thriller.
Yeah.
Right, but like way more on the spectrum.
Oh my gosh, that's just it for the.
Going
Bye.